Discovery of the real beauty. About 3 months ago I noticed some changes in my wife. She started to work out a lot, dress nicer to work, get a personal trainer, and in a little way act weird. Great wife, but whatever in our life at home has been open and honest. I just noticed some subtle changes like working out 6 to 7 times a week, bullcrap diets and fads, trying to be pretty and young like some of the other wives in our suburban area. We are both early 40s, married for more than 15 years. Things have been going great until 6 weeks ago. I noticed she was keeping her phone on her 24/7, texting, on Facebook, etc. One night on a home computer we both share. Up pops a message from her open Facebook account. She provoked and started a flirty conversation with her personal trainer who is like 27 years old. I kept my cool, took screen captures and gathered evidence. Over the course of the weekend, texts fly back and forth but not really suggestive, just flirty. I leave for a business trip and notice again texts from a remote computer which she sends then deletes the message. Bottom line, I confront her, we have a week of depression and I return from my business trip and she is sorry, devastated, etc. claims it was innocent, and that was all. I somewhat believed her but not 100%. I took my own measures and started to monitor her text messages from her phone. But whatever, in between all this going on I still let her see her personal trainer. She continues to work out and go to classes. Even suggests that I go to the class which is similar to CrossFit. Okay, I'm out of town Sat night. She calls me from a party down the block, happy, tipsy, with one of our kids. Goes home, says good night, love you, texts. Well, I log in to check her messages because she did say she was going to bed, right? Guess what? Right after she says good night to me, she starts a texting string with him for 27 minutes back and forth. I confront her and send a text to her copying the personal trainer asking that she share the text with me. She blames the wine and says she has been drinking too much. This is the second time I have busted her. I am so angry and feel like we aren't through with this yet. I get a lot I'm sorry or I don't know. Real lack of answers. Almost like she couldn't control herself. She wants me to forgive her but I don't trust her at all. She's having her cake and eating it too. Lastly, the other night, I laid it out for her. Next time it will be nuclear and we are over and I will tell my family about her, our mutual friends, as well as her family. End of marriage. Please, any advice here? She also mentioned that part of her was very sorry she did this but was lured into it because she grew up mostly being a good girl and this was something bad. Also, mentions a midlife crisis. In my mind, I go from being okay for 1 hour to another feeling really angry and I can't control it. Sleeping in the guest room because of the unknown and how this is going to play out. I have access to all of her social media accounts, including email. Trainer is gone no more. She still works out a lot but without the trainer. She is not a partier or drinker. Wine at dinner then usually in bed on weeknights around 10 and 11 on the weekends. No clubbing or other activities. That is why it makes it so difficult as to how to react. I was thinking of drafting a letter of agreement stating what she did and how I think she should act. If in fact the hiding and distrust continues, divorce is imminent. She has an older sister that is more attractive and skinnier than her in her perception. To clarify, no more gym time or contact with him. Also, she had dialogue with him for 4 days in a row via Facebook Messenger the first time. After I found out and confronted, it went away for 6 to 7 weeks. I got wise and started monitoring her cell phone activity. This was the first time, and the other night his number came up on her statement online. That's when I confronted her again. In between this, I have an app that tracks her movement and not once did they come even close to seeing him. I'm not saying my tracking is airtight. Would certainly be open to where I am missing but to my perspective, I see a few days on messaging on FB with low-key messages and then this incident last weekend. The limbo sucks. After I confronted the text messages, I am just looking for more information. I see a clear change in her since March. It's like in work when you hate it when you know you are right. Bonding is great, good gifts at Father's Day, good nights at home but still not cool. I'm not at all feeling good. Something isn't right. Half a year later. Wife has a history of at least 1 year in the past which I discovered where she was texting on her phone and sending Facebook messages. Well, I found out and to make matters worse it was her personal trainer. I know, right? The trainer was way out of her league and have all the proof that you can think of that it's over. The year lasted to my knowledge about 2 months. All things considered I was pissed but over time she has fully shown remorse and at the same time I have moved on. But whatever, been married 15 years with an active bonding life. Over the past summer she completed a marathon and developed a friendship with a running partner who happens to be of the same age, male. They continue to run together and exchange pleasant messages and text. She never deletes them, so everything is out in the open. With the exception of once I did notice that she deleted a text but it was never replied back. So, here I am. Not angry but at the same time I have a funny feeling this is going in the wrong direction and really only time will tell. Anyone been in this position before? I almost want to see how it plays out in some bizarre way. No other red flags at the moment. The first time around with the I think I blew my cover too early so things for better or worse never evolved. I am trying to understand how far this will go so that I can determine if I am either overreacting or if in fact this is an issue. I don't want to come across as hovering because I have all those bases covered behind the scenes. I've read all about the ways to look into getting the critical evidence and have done the due diligence. Her running partner is in fact not that attractive, but I do find it interesting that people hook up that aren't on the same level of attractiveness. I have no experience with EAP, so not sure. Case in point, just realized that she texted him last night at 9:45 p.m. What the hell, why? For what the hell reason do you do that to another person that is also married? In a way, I hope she gets caught so I can expose from a different angle. I am not looking to end my marriage or look for ways out at all. What I don't want to do is scare off much like I did the first time without much needed proof. I mean, a few texts back and forth is not grounds for demolition. I have all the deleted texts and they amount to very little. What has pissed me off though is that they were deleted. I want this to play out because right now I don't have much and I hope it doesn't continue, but where it stands right now, I will be in the same position as last time where I confronted too early. Comments. She continues to build a friendship with this guy simply because hubby lets her do it. Apparently, he's not ever going to tell her to knock it off. Thus, he deserves what happens. If it were me, I would never allow my wife to spend this much time in such close proximity with another man. If that sounds controlling, tough. If she insisted, then I would seriously reconsider my life with her. I have never believed in marrieds having close friends with member of the opposite gender. That is a surefire recipe for eventual marital disaster. OP responds. She doesn't know that I know she is texting him. It's not that bad. One text was good run, good night at 9:45. I would rather see how this plays out to see if she has the balls to close the deal or if she is really a bee with a toe in the shallow end. That way, I know what I'm dealing with. If I confront too early, what the hell do I gain? Nothing. It goes underground. So, I do appreciate all the suggestions about going caveman. I have to appear mellow to not to scare off so that I can gain more intel. I come across as a douche, then she knows something is up regardless. I am a strong advocate of core values and that regardless of your situation you have to pick the right course of action. If you don't, then I know that will be the indicator of future behavior. A month later, so here I am again. Found out wife has had some chatting sessions with her trainer who was the original point of interest. What is interesting is that there was 2 to 3 days of chatting but then went silent. Also, no VAR activity or cell data. Should I confront or hang tight? Need some ideas please. We both go to a gym where there is the guy that she had the EA with and I wanted to appear as open as possible, but also challenge her will. My comment, so, she broke NC with the guy that almost ruined your marriage. No respect, no boundaries, she thinks you will put up with it, and if she slips up, she thinks you will take her back. You know you have a problem, personally and with this marriage, right? I would have divorced this woman as soon as she cheated the first time at the gym. But guess what? OP did us a favor, he kept this person off the market. Story 2. I truly find myself in such a bizarre situation. There really isn't much to compare out there with. Bit of background on the marriage. Much as I hate to say it, and would never change it for the world, our own relationship took a huge nosedive shortly before our now 5-year-old daughter was born. While I think we are very good at it, neither of us were natural parents and both working full-time, we had no time for each other. I share some of the blame in this, but the majority of it, and she'll admit, was her serious helicopter parenting in the first few years. At times she had totally zero interest in our personal relationship, rough as it was. I always thought when our daughter got to the age she is now, things would slacken off and we'd be able to get back to where we were to some degree. Unfortunately, now we are at that point. She is taking the stance that it's irreconcilable and can't let go of the past, where I want, Ed, to look to the future. There's never been even any hint of abuse or other usual problems, rarely even an argument to be honest. It's just that she feels we've grown apart and that's that. Like I said, I do share some of the blame for it. We've missed the boat on a lot of things, but never to my mind, never to the point where we would do the drastic split we are doing now. Long and short of it, wife and I are getting divorced. She sorts of dropped it on me that she wanted us to go our separate ways about 3 to 4 months ago, and I went through almost 2 miserable months of trying to fix it, and I really pulled out all the stops etc., which she does acknowledge, but all attempts just seem to make the situation worse. About a month ago, however, ironically, our 8th anniversary, I booked a really good night out and so on. I just seemed to flip a switch and decided I could do no more. So instead of fighting it, I just asked her what she wanted, and right there at the bar we were in, got down to planning details, which is where the whole bizarre amicableness of it started. Because we both have good jobs and have lived well below our means even long before we were married, we are really in the black, so we have no debt worries at all. We agree on absolutely everything. Completely. 50-50 savings split, which we have just done. We are selling our current house. Wife is having a brand new one built in a great neighborhood. Our credit is excellent. She was able to start the process not contingent on the sale of our current home. And I'm moving into a swanky apartment complex, the lease for which I have just signed. Both new homes are within 10 minutes of each other with our daughter's school right in the middle. No alimony issues, no child support issues, totally joint 50-50 cooperative parenting. Her family, who we live close to and are close with. Mine is not so close and further away, are being 100% supportive to both of us and so on. I've always had a great relationship with them all. We're going to self-file. We have a mutual mediator friend who has printed out the paperwork for us, even though we don't even need any mediating. So we'll basically get out of this thing for a $400 filing fee. The sad thing to my mind is though, ever since my switch flipped from fix-it mode to alright, tried my best, wasn't good enough, so do what you like, we've been getting on like a house on fire. We sit on our back deck every night, drinking beer, planning everything out, and totally agreeing on it all, and talking about where we went wrong, secrets neither of us had ever discussed before and everything. Probably haven't talked like this in years, actually never. Both of us now being completely straight and honest, all past life skeletons we'd both even forgotten about, the lot, crap. We are even going out together to social events, telling all our mutual friends, who are really flabbergasted by the whole thing. We are still sleeping in the same bed even. The only thing that is missing from a normal relationship is that there is no intimacy there at all. On the odd occasion I do bring up how totally ridiculous and bizarre this all seems, she agrees. But her viewpoint is we need to end it now rather than fix it, lest we end up really resenting each other down the road. I agree with her, something needed to change, and really a lot of it has been the typical men are from Mars, women are from Venus communication issue sketch. I have learned such a ton about myself these last few months. It's been a real epiphany on both our parts, and even if we stayed together things could never be the way they were. But to me, it just seems so silly we are at this place we are at. Don't get me wrong though, I can actually see a lot of where she is coming from. I'm actually looking forward to moving into my new place now for a bit of fresh air. But to me, deep down, I am really worried about the impact this will have on our daughter, although she is very used to having either one or the other of us away on business trips, etc. We've been juggling it for years, so maybe she will adapt better than I think. We are both talking about going round to each other's houses for the drop-offs, doing events together, although I'm sure that will get screwed up when either of us meets someone else. Have to say, although she's driving this whole thing, odds are that it will be me who jumps in that direction first. I don't know, it just seems so amicable it's ridiculous. Has anyone heard of anything so crazy? I'm not a naive guy. Without saying too much, I have a very specific skill set developed over years of related employment which would make it very hard to put one past me. Looks to me like the IA that's going on is with her numerous female friends, many of whom are divorced, and she's been confiding in them rather than me, which is no doubt contributing to the solidification of her decision. I feel a bit sad she couldn't have confided in me rather than them a bit more, or that she felt unable to communicate with me a manner I'd understand, but it is what it is. No doubt she is having thoughts that there's others out there. But I don't even blame her for it, because I've had the exact same ones, and I truly do feel I'll probably end up somewhat settled on that front first. At this point, I'm not even that bothered any such possibility that she is having a fling with someone. Slim as it is, I really have turned a corner, and it's a case of don't want to be in love with someone who doesn't love me. If she has managed to slip one by me, I'd now only be bothered from a professional standpoint and would question my abilities. Lol. It's funny, even though she's the one who is driving it, I think at the minute between the two of us I'm in the far better place mentally. While I acknowledge my part in the decline of our relationship, I won't have any guilt feelings going forward about it, as I truly feel like I gave it my all. By contrast, that's a cross she'll always have bear. Been doing a lot of soul searching over these last few months, as you can imagine, and I think the reason why I've ultimately become accepting of it so quick is that, while I never would have pulled the plug myself due to my upbringing and actually taking my wedding vows very seriously, now that she has, I almost feel like I'm being let off the hook in a way. I'd be a liar if I said I'm not a bit excited about moving into my new place, having some time to myself on my half of the week when I'm not with my daughter. Also, that concentrated time with her will be nice. Geez, I'm starting to even sound like her. Aside from how it will impact our daughter, the main thing that is really bothering me more than anything at the moment is breaking the news to everyone who knows us. We've kept it very limited to very close friends, family, etc. while my wife and I seem to have it figured out. I can see it's going to affect so many people who have never thought of us anything other than the perfect couple. I don't know, it's a funny old world. I will say it's really rocked my whole idea of what marriage is supposed to be. I've lost all faith in it as an institution, to be honest. Again, it's funny, a lot of that is not even from my own almost fairy tale like divorce. During the course of my extensive forum reading and researching, some of the horror stories on here and elsewhere are appalling. While it looks like I'm getting off the hook lightly on this one, going forward I'm not sure I'd ever trust anyone enough to do it all over. Marriage, to my mind, has now been reduced to a worthless scrap of paper in the world today. If I ever do it again, I'd have to insist on a real ironclad prenup. Who knows what the future will bring? I certainly don't, but have to embrace it, come what may. I am very cognizant of the fact that it's commitment and compromise from two to make any relationship work, and if the will's not there with one or both people, by ultimately hanging on to a hope is the road to emotional ruin. So I need to do what I'm doing and maintain my outlook. I really do feel like I've learned so much about myself over the last 4 months, discovered parts of my personality that I didn't even know existed or have been dormant for so long. In the spirit of things, I need to take all of that on board and go with it. An update on the situation. It's really coming into effect now. Things are still going extremely well. I have my all singing, all dancing apartment set up and am now in its full time. Soon-to-be ex's house has broken ground and is coming along nicely. Our house sale closes at the end of the month. It's been a crazy time. All the moving and so on. My main worry, our daughter has absolutely taken wonderfully to it so far. We span it to her so carefully and made it all about her. For example, you will have 2 cool houses. Mommy and Daddy will only have one, and she seems to like that idea. I have made her bedroom beautiful. Same thing is going to happen in her mommy's house too, with a different theme. She seems to have had no anxiety or attachment to the old house whatsoever. Must be a chip off the old army rootless block from me. Good thing is she is still in the same local area, same school, same friends, makes it all easier. Me, I'm generally positive, but have days tinged with sadness about the end of our relationship. I am trying to distance myself from STBX, but sometimes it is hard. I think the real wrench in the works will be when either one or the other of us get into a serious relationship with someone else. I really couldn't put money on who will develop one first. Some days I feel I should get straight into the dating game to make up for my own disappointment with the marriage. I think it would help me truly move on, but other days, I just feel as though I can't be bothered with the hassle of it all right now. I've got a lot of other stuff going on in my life right now, a terminally ill mom, feel as though that is where my attention needs to be. STBX is actually trying to support me for that, but sometimes it just gets awkward for me. But the main thing is our daughter seems to do fine with it just now. I'm sure the questions will come as she grows. And I do hope we can maintain a good co-parenting relationship even when the situation changes as I outlined above. I do think the fact that the STBX and I have lived such separate lives anyway for quite some time and her being used to one or the other of us gone also makes it easier for her. We haven't filed the divorce papers yet. We want to test the parenting split properly and get that written in as best we can. I doubt we will ever feel the need to strictly adhere to it, but we think it is a good thing to get down on paper as you never know what the future might bring. Not that it's likely, but if either one of us loses our mind or something it will at least be down on paper. Strange days indeed, but could be a lot worse. Now, despite the good way it's going, deep down I still do have disappointment in her that she can't find the will to give the relationship a good, honest second chance, especially after the massive discussions we've had doing a post-mortem on everything that went wrong. But I have realized that it's totally out of my control and move on with the future I must. I know we are going to have flares of resentment etc., but for sure we are off on the right foot. Truth of the matter is, it doesn't even matter now, does it? Even if there is someone, she's cutting me a clean break. She's not trying to string me along in case the potential OM doesn't work out. She's letting me go and move on, in effect. Would be much worse if she had an affair and strung me along in my eyes. She has no desire to replace me as a father with someone else or any of that. So even if your scenario does come true, not my issue is it? I know for a fact it would be quite a while before she brought anyone else around our daughter. Same holds true for me also. Other people will undoubtedly come into it, on both sides, and I've already said I know some bumps will appear when they do, but as I mentioned, I know I gave it my all and there is nothing more I can do but move forward. Few months later, what I found, rather than another guy, was her confiding in and surrounding herself with a new set of partying divorced friends, who no doubt had a big impact on solidifying her decision to jump ship. She seems to have largely embraced this new lifestyle. Single friends, single divorcee friends etc. regarding her, our, more traditional, long-term married friends, she seems to have distanced herself from them. We sold our house, I moved into a nice apartment. She is having a new place built and living with her mom in the interim. Our daughter spends 50-50 time at each place. As far as these things go, the transition has been pretty good so far. We've both worked hard to ensure our daughter always comes first and have maintained friendly relations. I think we've done more talking than in any split in history. Despite me being dumped, I've been doing okay, keeping busy, surrounding myself with friends, taking a leaf out of her book. I've been doing plenty of partying of my own, and so on. Some parts of me have even enjoyed the downtime, and at times have been excited by future prospects. But then other times, the reality check still continues to hit me. But here's the rub, I know that probably sooner rather than later, she is going to meet someone else, and may well even be having the odd fling here and there anyway, due to this new partying midlife crisis lifestyle that she has chosen. I'm finding that it is bothering me more than it should. I think that continuing to be friendly with her is only likely to serve as an enabler for her, and is likely to turn her into a cake eater. Seems I'm good enough to do the family time and even hang around with and have a beer together etc., but obviously no longer cool enough to be her lover. The fact that this is bugging me is obviously an indicator that despite all my progress and bravado etc., I'm not as over her as I like to think I am, and vice versa. The fact she wants to still hang out with me, go out to dinner on our own, and we've come close to getting it on, one last time on a number of occasions, and likes to call me up for a general chat. All seems indicative that she's not quite as done as she likes to think she is. The trouble with it all is that being the dumped, I am really starting to feel like the backup plan, and this strange limbo is not helping either of us really deal with the gravity of the whole situation. And I think it is just setting myself up for a renewed slap in the face come the inevitable day when she seriously meets someone else, or even if she's decided just to screw around. As such, I am now thinking that on our next outing, I am going to sit down and talk with her and tell her that in order to properly move on, I need to cut much further away from her emotionally. No dates, no calls, no real communication unless it's about our daughter, etc. I think she needs to see it in the cold light of day as well. The way it is going on at the moment, I am still providing her the familiarity and emotional support that she has always enjoyed. She also still keeps doing things for me. I think a lot of that is guilt-driven, but some of it is genuine thoughtfulness. However, I think to continue on as we are is ultimately headed to a really big wreck down the road. I'm starting to see it's true what they say. Being friends with your ex really drags out the healing process, and you even find yourself wondering what they are up to, jealous feelings, and so on. A question for anyone who has been through it: what to do about my in-law family. I've always got on with them great, and they have been very supportive to me during this whole thing, always calling and asking how I am, helping me with this, that, and the other. I think they all feel that what she has done is wrong, and deep down I can see they are hoping we will resolve it, but I'm not so sure we can or will. Do you think at best I really should start distancing myself from them too? They love me and I love them, but the reminders of the good family times we have all shared together is starting to get to me a bit as well. I tell you, this divorcing business, even if it's amicable, it's crap. My heart really goes out to those in much worse predicaments than myself. Well folks, this particularly bad backslide is over and I'm doing a whole lot better this week. Back to my moving on. What is really helping me out is spending a lot of time with various friends who have been through it all before, and much worse than what I've got it, at that. Had a good cordial chat with the STBX a few days ago. It's now flat out clear that she absolutely doesn't want to be married anymore. She's not fogged or anything. She is just very determined that this is the way things have to be. For all the one in the world, I can't change that, and what must be, must be. I actually quite respect her. As far as proceedings go, she's bending over backwards to make sure we get this done properly with an appropriate parenting plan before she files, and when she does file, she will let me have the paperwork before, so I can look it over. Assets and finances have already been split exactly 50-50, with no complaint on either side. In all honesty, this week's thoughts on the roller coaster, at least, I think it might be for the best. I wouldn't want to guilt anybody into staying with me. That is just not healthy. The fact that she is deciding to make a clean break is, in my eyes, better than to continue on unhappy and having an affair or whatever. I think I've been stuck in the wrong place all along. I think I have probably been in the denial phase of the whole grieving process. Even after all this time, really since October, this whole thing has shattered my image of what marriage is all about. As I mentioned before, I had a very strong idea about family upbringing and meaning my vows, etc. I just couldn't call it quits. My good friends have helped me understand all that. I have to say this week, I seem to be feeling a really profound change. Finally moving towards acceptance. What I realize I have to do is get myself to where she is feelings-wise. Essentially, I need to fall out of love with her. Easier said than done, but that is now my goal. Right now, I feel I do need a bit of space, which I have actually arranged in the form of an overseas vacation to visit yet more old friends. Something to look forward to, but I do think that once I get myself mentally over her, chances are we will actually be able to be friends in the future. It's a weird one, folks, but this week I feel that I am truly starting to let go, rather than think I was letting go. The fact our daughter is doing so well with the transition is really helping. No doubt there will be more bumps to come, but this week I am thinking it's good progress. A few months later, having a bit of a rough weekend this one. I think it's the first Father's Day alone with my daughter that is triggering a lot of it. But rough weekend aside, I have a deeper-seated issue that I'm at a loss how to resolve. To cut a long story short, I made a ton of compromises to commit to marriage and be with my STBX. I moved continents, away from family and friends, and gave up a good career. And I did it all willingly because I was deeply in love and committed to the idea of marriage and family. We moved to the STBX's hometown because we figured it'd be best to be near at least one of our families. Work-wise, I've always done okay for myself, but it's always been a struggle and I've passed up on a lot of good opportunities elsewhere in the world to make it go if it here. She has always had a very good stable job locally. When she announced she was done, I'd just been laid off, and she'd just been promoted. In addition, my mom had terminal cancer and passed away a couple of months after the STBX being done. At the minute I'm scrapping about with contracting jobs, have plenty of savings, and can easily make ends meet. But through this whole unhappy process, I've been trying to work out what it is that I want out of life. Now the whole thing has gone wrong. To that end, I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place. Trapped by her. I have realized I don't really want to be here. She is the one with the roots in this area, not me. It's not like I don't have friends around here, and a couple of very good ones at that. But now I feel as though I am totally compromising my career, and where before I willingly did so. Now that I don't have a wife who cares about me anymore, I am starting to resent the fact that I'm scrapping around while she's just sitting there on cloud 9 living the high life. The reason I feel trapped is because of my daughter. She is 6, I've been here with her always, and we have a very close bond, and I love her so much. But if it weren't for her, I'd have quit the area shortly after the STBX decided she was done, got my life and career back on track and not look back. And that's my dilemma. I'm almost ashamed to say a large part of me wants to do just that, walk away and finally do what I want, without compromise. But then I realize, I'm not sure I could ever happy if I did so, leaving my daughter behind. The other thing that weighs on me is that at some point, if no real substantial work is forthcoming, I might even be forced to do just that, after wasting X amount of time in limbo. I'm also concerned if I stay here, I'll just become more and more resentful of everything and become a real miserable, bitter, and twisted person. And I'd hate for my daughter to pick up on that. Also, while the STBX and I are still very cordial, under the surface there's some real seething anger on my part. I feel she really did a lot of damage, when I was already down at the worst time of my life. While she's got the emotions of a stone and will never admit it, I know she's carrying a ton of guilt. She's constantly being nice to me, even if I blow up at her, as I have done on occasion. At the moment, I'm really truly lost as to whether I'll ever be perfectly happy again, no matter what I do. I think I have made good progress as to letting the STBX go. Certainly not been clinging, but I can't see forgiving her anytime soon, unfortunately. Ironically, I think the anger at the minute and seeing her as a selfish, cold-hearted person and thinking it's all her fault is the best state of mind for me at the minute. If I start to go soft, I start moping. This weekend is seeing some of that creep back. As far as replacing her, I have been open to the idea, even had a couple of forays there. But now the buzz has worn off, it's left me feeling very hollow inside. Not so much that I want to even get back with the STBX, it's just the whole destruction of the family issue that is a hard pill to swallow, which in turn causes me to question my commitment to pretty much anything or anyone these days. It's pretty obvious I'm not really ready for that yet, although who knows who you might meet. My comment: OP had some progress and he will do okay in the future, he just needs some time, but he will reach the final destination.